The winter winds howled outside the old crumbling apartment building, slipping through the cracks like icy fingers, searching for warmth. In a dimly lit kitchen, a small boy stood barefoot on the cold floor, clutching an empty wicker basket to his chest. His face was stir with dirt and dried tears, and his lips trembled, not just from the cold, but from fear. Fear of losing the little they had left. Across from him sat a man in a sharp business suit, a man who looked like he belonged in a boardroom under golden lights, not in a home where hunger echoed louder than words. The man's name was Adrian Wolf, a successful CEO and a single father trying to balance grief and responsibility. But at that moment, with the boy staring into his eyes, he felt more lost than ever. And when the trembling child whispered, "Please don't take our food. My mom is sick," Adrian's world shifted in a way he never expected. Before we continue, if you believe kindness still exists, and if you believe people deserve second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Haven. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? The boy's name was Marlo, and behind him on an old sofa lay his mother, Hannah, wrapped in a thin blanket that did nothing against the winter air. Her breaths were shallow, her skin pale, and even from across the room, Adrian could see she was fighting with every inhale. The apartment smelled faintly of mold and burnt wood from a makeshift heater the family had assembled out of broken parts. It was a place that spoke of years of quiet suffering. Adrian hadn't come there to take anything. In fact, he had come searching for something he couldn't explain. A moment, a sign, a reminder of humanity. His own daughter, Mia, had been asking questions lately. Questions about why some people had more and some had none. Adrian had been driving through the old neighborhood he grew up in, trying to make sense of the world he had left behind when he spotted the small building with the flickering porch light. Something urged him to stop. Maybe it was nostalgia. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was fate. As he stepped inside the apartment, guided by Marlo's hesitant invitation, Adrian realized how much he had forgotten about the simplicity and struggles of ordinary families. Marlo had shown him their pantry with a kind of heartbreaking pride. 2 loaves of bread, a few packets of biscuits, some leftover soup they'd been stretching for days. Adrian wasn't there to take their food. He was examining it with disbelief, wondering how a child had survived on so little for so long. But Marlo had misunderstood his silence, his expression, the way he looked at the food. To Marlo, every adult who entered their home was either a threat or someone who might leave them with less than before. Adrian felt a lump form in his throat as he slowly pushed the basket back toward the boy. He glanced at Hannah, whose tired eyes watched them through a haze of pain. She tried to sit up, but her body refused to cooperate. Adrian had been through pain too. His wife Nora had passed away 2 years earlier, leaving him to raise Mia alone while carrying the crushing weight of grief. But even in their darkest days, they had never faced hunger like this. He remembered the nights he sat awake at his dining table, staring at stacks of paperwork, feeling like a failure as a father. Yet now, standing in a kitchen that barely held warmth, he understood that failure came in many forms and sometimes wasn't a choice. Marlo lowered his gaze, ashamed of what he thought Adrian might do. His voice cracked as he whispered that they hadn't eaten properly in 2 days because Hannah had been too weak to work. Marlo had tried sweeping streets for coins, collecting cans, anything he could think of, but the world outside had been unkind. Then Marlo finally broke, confessing that he thought Adrian was a government official or someone sent by the landlord to seize what little they had. Adrian's heart ached. He realized the boy wasn't begging for mercy. He was begging for survival. Moved by a force he didn't fully understand, Adrian rose from the kitchen chair and knelt in front of Marlo. He placed a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder and told him that he wasn't there to take anything. Instead, he wanted to help. At first, Marlo didn't believe him. Help was a word that had betrayed them many times. But when Adrian stepped outside and returned minutes later, carrying multiple bags of groceries from his car, Marlo's breath hitched in disbelief. The bags were filled with fresh vegetables, fruits, medicine, and warm food, things the boy had only dreamed about for months. Adrian spent the next hour fixing the heater with tools he borrowed from his car, and then he cleaned the kitchen, prepared a simple meal, and made sure Hannah took her medicine. Hannah tried to protest, embarrassed to receive help, but her weak body had no strength to resist the kindness she desperately needed. Marlo watched Adrian with wide, curious eyes, as if witnessing something impossible. Adrian wasn't just offering food. He had brought warmth, emotional warmth, that had been missing from their lives. As Marlo ate his first proper meal in days, Adrian felt a strange peace wash over him. Something inside that had been broken since Nora's death felt like it was finally stitching itself back together. He realized he had spent so much time drowning in work, trying to hide from grief, that he had forgotten the healing power of compassion. When Marlo shyly asked why Adrian was helping them, Adrian simply said that sometimes life gives us chances to do the right thing and that this time he wouldn't ignore it. Before leaving, Adrian made a promise. He would return the next morning with a doctor for Hannah and warm clothes for Marlo. He would also arrange for better heating and groceries every week. Marlo hugged him tightly. the kind of hug a child gives when they finally feel safe. And for the first time in years, Audrine cried not out of sorrow, but out of gratitude for being able to help. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Haven. Your support helps us spread more real emotional stories like this. Special request. Before the story ends, tell us in the comments what part moved you the most. Adrien walked out into the cold night air feeling lighter, as if he had left behind more than groceries. He had left behind healing, hope, and the beginning of a beautiful connection between two broken families who needed each other more than they realized.